Hello and welcome to Recruiting EQ. You're listening to episode number 91, which we have called Agency Restructuring, re in brackets, like a 60s song. In 2026, with our special guest, Ben Di Grazia. Ben, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me, Rick.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I didn't even introduce myself this time. For those of you who are just listening to this, I'm Rick Coluccio, by the way, and this is Recruiting EQ. And Ben Di Grazia is here. How do you say your name? Do you say it all Italian style like I'm doing right now?
I do. I really appreciate what you're doing because all growing up, I would get like hundreds of versions of my name. D Garcia, Grazi, just they drop the DE or say DE instead of DI. So I really appreciate your pronunciation.
There you go. Thank you, fellow Italian name. So I couldn't mess it up. I had to give it the full treatment. Um, Thanks for being here, Ben. We met a little while ago through a mutual acquaintance, you and I, and we're got into I thought, some pretty interesting, insightful conversations, and thought that this would be a great thing to extend to our listeners here. And I can only pick one title, right? But it like could have been 72 different titles based on all the stuff that we cover. Um, but a lot of big questions there. And before we dive into that specific line of questioning, I would love if you would maybe just give listeners a bit of a sense of what brought you here today. Like, what's the story arc that brings us the man we see before us now?
Sure. So yeah, it was the crazy powers of LinkedIn networking that connected us. I just made a comment on a post somewhere randomly, and a mutual connection of ours set up a call with me, and then gave me your information, and then we spoke and had a great conversation, and here we are. So
Here we are.
the beauty of networking. So a little, I guess, background of me. So I am like probably many of the people on the call right now. We did not go into a career of recruiting on purpose. We kind of fell into it. I out of college, I was working in commercial real estate, and as that market, uh, cratered, I was looking for anything where I could have a base salary and be able to pay my rent. So I got a phone call from a woman named Nicole Greathead from Insight Global, and they were opening up their Southern California office. She was moving out from Atlanta, Georgia, to start it up, and I had no clue what she was talking about, but she was going to offer me, like, I think it was like a 35K base salary and opportunity for some commission, and I was like, I'll take it. So I had no idea what I was doing, but myself and one other person were the first two new hires, and a few people moved in from other states. Went and we were working in basically like the equivalent of like a WeWork, but it was a shoebox, and we had an amazing time building out the Southern California region, and which ultimately, I think at this point they have LA, Orange County, which I was in, and San Diego. So that was the origin story of me in the recruiter industry, and had a great run there. And you know, the style for me wasn't going to fit long term, and I wanted to. What I thought at the time was get out of recruiting completely. So I went back to school at night, got my MBA, and moved out of the industry into public sector investment banking for a couple of years with a classmate. And with that, I was traveling like 3 to 4 weeks out of every month to the Midwest and the Southeast to meet with different governments and everything to understand investment opportunities. And I wanted to have a family, and being gone that much was not gonna go well with my wife, Lindsay. So decided to move on, and had a few friends from Insight Global that went to Cybercoders, and they connected me in there. And there was an awesome opportunity, which was exactly what I was looking for. It was working on the business side, but in that recruiter industry, in that culture, which, looking back at it, I truly loved, and ultimately the purpose of recruiting and what we all do it for is always something that's been meaningful to me. So that opportunity to get back into the industry was important, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm sure we'll get into a bit, but I had an awesome 10-year run at Cybercoders. Went from operations manager up to president as I moved on from there mid last year to start my own executive advisory company, Stillwater Strategies, which I've been doing since basically beginning of August of last year, and that's where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. It's an amazing trajectory, and anybody who listens to this program probably sees there's just so many lines of questioning that we can go down here and rabbit
Sure.
hole. But like, recruiting found you just like a lot of us. It's not something that we set out to do as a plan. I love I just needed a base. They offered me 35K base, and I was like, sign me up. Like, just amazing. I was on 30K in my first recruiting job as well. Base.
Simpler times.
Yeah, simpler time. It was still a little scary, but luckily for both of us,
sure.
we made a lot of commission. So that here we are now, X number of a decade plus later. But so Inside Global, huge brand, obviously well-respected brand. The impression I get is that it's a great place to get started in recruitment and get trained and learn the ropes and hear things from people. And this is pre-COVID. How did you feel about looking back on it now, like what you experienced getting into a sizable agency like that, even though it was a new build, right? In Orange County. Were you in the office 5 days a week?
In the office 5 days a week. We had what we called zone, which everyone gets up in front of the whiteboard and goes over all the open recs, interview times, candidates, where we're at, and who's getting assigned to the roles. So that would happen at 7:30 every morning. Okay. And then you'd have to do your role plays before that. So you're getting into the office like 7 a.m. And then you're very structured throughout the day, and then you do some role plays or what they call OOCs. So like taking people out, taking clients out, in the evening sometimes. So I'd say it is an incredible. I have no idea what it's like today. I haven't been there in however long it's been. But when I was there, it was an incredible place to start your career, and the trajectory that you had of learning everything was amazing. The relationships you built were amazing. The skills and work ethic and everything was just top notch. That was incredible. The career path was very structured as far as where you could go, and that's where I kind of started hitting my head against the ceiling a little bit. I felt without my my want to move to Atlanta to be at corporate. So and so I just got to a point where I felt like it was right to move on. I have a ton of people who I still have relationships with and love that I worked with from a long time ago, which is saying something. So it was a real positive experience there.
That is saying something for sure, because I think a lot of people, I don't know a lot of people that can say that, right? So that's definitely a testament to it. Do you think that part of that was also just because you guys were building up a new office? So it's like you're like there in a way from the ground up for that office,
in the thick of it
together.
Yeah, I think that was definitely part of it. It was a unique experience building out an office and building out a region, and you're at the beginning of your career, so you're at a very impressionable point in your life. So those people can mean a lot to you if you're finding success and you're building together.
Yeah. Now I know Insight Global as doing multiple different things. What were you working on? Was it finance? Was it IT? Were you doing IT that early in staffing?
Yeah, IT. So it was when I was there, that was the core of the business. It was IT staffing. So contract to hire, looking for a minimum 3 month to hire. That the standard type stuff.
And were you a pretty techie guy at the time? I mean, coming from real estate, or was that a curveball for you, or were you like, oh yeah, absolutely, tech all day long, just put me on the phone?
I had no clue what I was doing. So there was no office the first week. So Ashley, who was the other new hire with myself, we were sent up to San Jose to a functioning, well-oiled machine up there. We trained up there for a week and learned the ropes. And honestly, coming back, I probably still didn't know what the heck I was signing up for. But we came back and we had that temp space and some people who would come in from different offices to help guide us along. And it's one of those things where you just work really hard and you get the repetitions, and you then craft. You get better at your craft, and you get your expertise. And I think in the industry today, it's a little bit more challenging to be able to do that. I think there's a little bit less patience from the client side and the candidate side, but I think that it was an incredible way to develop into this type of job.
For sure. I mean, yeah, I would just imagine, like I think a lot of people who are not necessarily in Cali probably think if you're going to be in tech and you're going to be selling services into tech and doing IT staffing or IT sales for that matter, like SaaS sales, et cetera, California is like one of the meccas of the universe for tech. Did it feel like that? Did it feel like obviously competitive, but like, oh yeah, I'm in the elite, nest of it all kind of thing?
So California's a big place.
It is.
Yeah. I think I saw it's the fourth largest GDP in the world, and where everyone thinks about tech is always Silicon Valley, the
Sure.
Bay Area. So that's a 6-hour drive north from where I'm at. But there's tech in every business. We have the entertainment industry down here. We have large biotech. We have healthcare. There's tons of different opportunity where you can get in and you can do technology, and you don't have to be in a major tech hub, so to say, to be able to find opportunity.
Were you like pretty local then with the companies that you were going after and like going to meet them face to face and lunches?
Oh yeah, it was 100% face to face. You'd have to set up a certain number of meetings per week where you'd be going out to clients and visiting with them, cold calling nonstop, and it was very small geographies. Like you get to Main Street, and from Main Street to 6th Street, and then you're only in that box. Like it, you have to be able to go deep with your clients when you're in a situation like that.
Yeah. And you got to, I guess, talk to every company.
Every company possible and every possible hiring manager. You got to find, no stone unturned, so they say.
When you're in that small of a geography and you're face to face, you ever take one client to lunch and you're like sitting across from another client in the same restaurant kind of thing?
Or? There's some favorite spots for sure.
Yeah. I would imagine you run into results. No, that's cool. And also part of the reason why I go down this path too is I had a feeling that that's kind of what you were going to say, and it was very much what what it was like in the pre-COVID world, and I think it's pretty different now in general. I would say, right? I think a lot of people, even on the sales side, seeing your clients is a bit more rare face to face.
Yeah, and I think that it's a lot of people don't feel like it's necessary. They think, hey, I've got this rec, I want you to fill it. Go do your job.
Yeah.
Or they can kind of commoditize the recruiter, and it's our job on the recruiting side to build the relationships and make sure that you're the one that they're going to call when there's an opportunity, and you're staying in touch with them all the time so that you're aware of what's going on and predicting when things are going to come up versus being reactionary.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll come back to this, I'm sure, in multiple different formats during the conversation. But like, do you feel like that shift away from a lot of direct face-to-face contact is part of the overall commoditization of the industry in general?
I'm sure it has a piece to it. I think that the more that a client thinks that a robot could just do this for me, then that margin, that commission fee, they start to question the value in it, and then they try and negotiate you down.
Yeah.
But you got to show your worth, and if you show your worth and they're getting the people that they need and they're able to finish the projects they're supposed to do on time and hit their budgets and get their promotions, then you're providing them value, and then that's worth $30,000.
For sure. I feel like it's even difficult sometimes when you're only doing video calls, like for your first couple of meetings with clients, to if they come in with a dynamic where they just want to tell you what the problem is and tell you what their challenges are, and that's it, and they don't want to hear anything from you. It's difficult to even muscle your way into providing value until you get very used to controlling the conversation and saying, hey, by the way, you mentioned these flags, but have you tried this? Have you thought of that? Here's something I saw another client do, blah, 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 to be able to sort of get that, like, we're equals here. But, in a video call, sometimes it can be hard if someone comes in and says, okay, here are all my problems. Go fix them. Bye. Okay, I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, you work on real high level type roles and work in multiple countries too, from what I understand. So obviously, this is a normal medium for you. Like in those high leverage things, like how do you handle that conversation? How do you make sure that you're in control?
You just have to get really good at listening, active listening, right? And so when you are speaking to somebody who is like a veritable stranger on a video call, you want to be able to make sure that when you say something, it's intriguing or interesting enough, and that you've shown that you have listened and understand what's going on, that it feels worth listening to you very, very early on, right? Otherwise, it's just kind of like, oh my god, let's just get to the solution here. Just get right down to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the active listening. You always got to be looking for the cues and the things that are going to connect you. Otherwise, yeah, it's just another robot on the other end.
Totally. Active listening, and also like that EQ kind of listening too, right? To sort of take stock of what the person's emotional state is. If they're clearly agitated and having a bad day on the time you have that call, it's not a great time to joke around and talk about what Netflix shows you like, which I love to do in calls with people. But you have to sort of read the room and be able to tell right away, like, yeah, that's not going to fly here at all. This person's going to think that his time. So let's go hard on some facts or information that's useful to try to help solve this problem, right? Like it's really pivoting to read the emotional tone of the room is harder in video call, but you got to get good at it, or otherwise you're sunk, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just in general, matching somebody's tone, understanding their personality, and how you can connect with them, it's going to take you far.
Yeah, understood completely. So that's Insight Global in a nutshell, and you obviously did well at it and had success there. And then this ceiling that you're talking about hitting is somewhat geographical, right? And this is pre-COVID time where, you're in an office that isn't the head office. You can only really go so far with your success so fast. And that's part of what prompted you to move on and even to go back to school and sort of pivot pretty drastically. But before we talk about that pivot, do you feel like that's possibly one of the pros of the way that things are now that we've come out of COVID and things are a lot less local and regional, that perhaps there's less of a ceiling in a lot of people's local networks when they're, given the market right now? Or do you feel like that's still sort of a stigma, like in terms of getting promoted, that you do need to be where the head office is to go high enough?
I think that there's a lot more opportunity now that there's hybrid, that there's full remote. You know, the amount of opportunities that are available to you is, astronomically higher. And then, with companies who have figured out how to work remotely effectively, having a CFO that's in a different state than headquarters isn't a problem, because they're going to get their work done. They're going to be able to effectively communicate with everybody, and they're going to be available. So yeah, I see no problem. I think that how the workplace is now, and with the ability to do remote, just opens opportunities for people to get more better jobs, and then also for companies to get greater talent too.
Yeah, for sure. I love that positivity though too, right? And this comes from someone like yourself who's done very well in staffing. So perhaps that's part of it. If you're a good performer, then you do have more opportunity in general. But that's a great antithesis to the doom and gloom you hear from a lot of people who are just kind of like, that's it, it's over. AI is going to take all of our jobs. We're all going to, you know what I mean? But that I don't believe that that's true at all. I'm more on your side, right? Where I think that there's a lot more opportunity and new, different, interesting opportunities that come out of this whole shift.
Yeah, it's not going to take our jobs. It might expose some people or some weaknesses that we might have, right? But it's going to allow you to focus on the things that you can provide the highest leverage, and allow you to pass on the mundane, repetitive stuff to that you shouldn't be wasting your time on anyway. A saying that I used to get from a coach was, pardon my French here, but are is that work? Are you doing COO shit?
Yeah.
And if I'm sitting there, updating calendars and setting meetings and taking notes and doing all those things, that is very expensive for that type of work. So if you can just automate that or leverage something else to take care of that and have you focus on the things that you're supposed to be doing in that type of role, then you're providing more value, and things are going to move in the right direction quicker.
Yeah, I think that's well put too, right? And it's like, pardon me, I feel like, you tell me what you think about this statement, but I feel like I got my start in sales working for a VAR that was based out of California. Actually, it was called PC Mall, Mac Mall, which at the time Mac Mall was the biggest reseller of Mac on earth. This is around when Steve Jobs was ousted from the company. So not only was he still alive, it was when he was ousted for the company before the iPod existed. Just dating myself completely right now. Worked that job for several years, got a lot of good training there. And the idea in a value-added reseller is that it's like your product is not the Mac, it's not the whatever, right? It's not the piece of software, it's not Microsoft licensing. Your product is you. Like, you have to be the value add because they can get that product elsewhere. And I kind of feel the same thing about recruitment, right? Like, yes, we obviously have to get the right candidate for the right job, but in order to feel like we have a value proposition, like, I have to be the value proposition in some way, whether I'm better at screening those candidates, better at attracting them, better at managing the account. I have to sort of bring something else to the table aside from just being able to be like, job description, candidate match, boom. Because then, yeah, you can get replaced by AI if that's all you're doing in a way. How do you feel about that and those goalposts?
Well, I think you touched on something really interesting there. Specifically in the direct hire market, I think it is easier than ever right now to just go out on your own and be successful as a recruiter solo. And all the technology is there to allow you to do it and ramp up really quickly. And if you're an excellent recruiter, why give up 50, 60, 70% of your commission for somebody else, for a badge, essentially, for a brand? And clients are proving that it's a very relationship based industry. And if you have that relationship, it doesn't matter what brand you have, your results are what matter. And if it's Stillwater Strategies or it's the biggest staffing company in the world, like, ultimately, if I'm the one who gets to the best candidate the fastest and provide the best service and the best process and the best information and intel on the market, then I'm the one that's going to get the business, not that big company.
Yep, agreed. I feel like that's the argument that, like, in my line of work, oftentimes I'm speaking to people who are at major companies who succeed and then hit a ceiling like you did, right? And then trying to get them into a mid-size or boutique environment where they can go to that next level, which is sort of the often the career trajectory that you experience, and that yours was a little different by going into finance briefly, coming back out.
Sure, right, yeah.
but it's a similar trajectory in a lot of ways. Not everybody ends up being the president of cybercoders either, so good for you on that one. But it's a similar trajectory, right? And I think that's often the argument too about working in a boutique where you are several people who do have a good personal brand, that you kind of elevate each other. If everybody there is like, has a solid personal brand and are like-minded, in a boutique firm, you can do more of exactly what you're saying. Everybody has their own key relationships that are valuable enough that they're not going to go to a big major. And I think that on the perm side, especially like you're saying, I think that's where the majors are suffering. No offense to them, but they're seeing some contraction because now, especially with things being remote as they are, you could work outside of your own geography and just be a good perm account manager or recruiter.
Yeah, and I think the boutique angle that you just took is interesting because, let's just say I'm an expert in technology and that's my focus, but my clients, they have accounting roles because they're a business and that department exists, And if I have a partner, if you're my partner and you're an expert in accounting, then we can get greater market share within that client. They're happier. They have one less phone call to make, and then we can share in that success within our boutique. So that's definitely an advantage on going boutique versus solo, and being able to have that little bit of optionality for people.
Yeah, for sure. You also raised a very interesting point there too that I feel a lot of people don't ask or don't know to ask really is in a boutique firm, what you described as a very client-centric approach, right? It's like we're going to focus on our clients, our client relationships, and if we have different specialties, then we can actually service those clients in different ways, and it's very like focused on the client. There's also other ones that focus on the candidate. You go to a candidate short market, and everybody works on networking with these kinds of candidates, and you can get a lot of clients that need these hard to find candidates, and you've got that approach. It almost feels like I feel like those two approaches are suitable for different people depending on what their personality is like or like what they're good at.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get a good candidate, I think it would be silly if you didn't go market that candidate out to everyone you possibly could. Because if you're like Ben's an automatic hire, like I have to get him a job. Like not that I'm paying you, but that you just think that I'm that good of a candidate and that good of an interview and I'll be a value add. Like why only send me to your one client that you have right now? Why not go figure out every single possible opportunity there is in the country now at this point that you could market me to?
Yep, 100%. So let's go back to your timeline then, and then get up to cybercoders. So in your timeline,
Sure.
you then left and got your MBA. You went to get your MBA and then went into financial sales. Was that with a firm, or did you go out on your own with your classmate?
It was like a startup. So there was 6 of us, and so it was my classmate and his former boss from a larger bank who he split off to start his own thing. He handled the finance side, and then we were on the sales side, bringing in opportunities. But essentially, the sell was you were going to do local transactions with local banks. So if we had a job that was in Irvine, California, that would typically go to a bond to finance, we would come in and say, well, how about we use private financing for this? We can get you better rates. It could be a little bit more flexible on the structure because it's not such a large financial tool. And then we would go to all the different banks that are within like a 50-mile radius and show them this opportunity and structure it so then we'd be having local capital fund local projects.
Do you feel like did you feel like it was a big stretch from what you were doing in staffing, and that it was really different as a sales pitch in a good way, in a bad way, challenges? Like, how did you feel about it?
It was completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, sales and relationship building is all very similar.
Sure.
But we're going to a lot of trade shows. Obviously, like I said, there was a lot of travel. So I was going from working in a defined geography within a county to going out to other states on a regular basis. And there was definitely a learning curve on understanding how governments work, all government entities work, and all that. And I had good mentors to help me through that. But it was a totally different sell for sure. And it was much bigger. So like I went from doing contract staffing. So you're trying to make like at that time like $500 a week in spread on a placement was like the minimum that we were trying to get, to making working on projects that could be multi-million dollar projects for a city or a town or a county.
Right. So like every time you get pinged with success, it's a much longer sales cycle, I would imagine, to actually get. So it's way less transactional than being in the contract.
Exactly.
Do you
you,
feel
you
like
gotta build those relationships over time, and then maybe something on the next budget cycle is something where you're actually able to transact on.
I feel like for salespeople, even just psychologically, there's something addictive about being in staffing because you get a dopamine hit from making a placement every time, right? So it's like if the more transactional it is, it's almost just kind of like ping, like yes, I rule, like this is amazing, we're doing it. You know what I mean? Versus, I don't know, I find obviously it's bigger money, and when you get paid more money, that's also fantastic. But how did that sit for you to go to something that was longer sales cycle, even if it's more money? Was there a sense of like, man, I miss those like frequent wins?
Yeah, I mean, I went from your expectation of having at least a start every week, and you're doing start dances or hitting the gong or celebrating all the time, um, to something where it's like, all right, if I do one transaction in a quarter, then I feel good, and and then that has enough financial weight where you feel successful with it too. But it is a totally different mindset, and with that, you just have to really focus in on your activity, your relationships, the little smaller things that you can feel progress happening. Because you can also get lost when there's super long sales cycles. If you aren't on top of your pipeline, if you aren't continually doing business development and creating opportunities, like you could put yourself in a situation where you have nothing going. And if you just start something today, you might not see results from that for like 6, 9, 12 months.
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole different like
Yeah.
psychological game.
You have to stay on top of it.
Can we back up for a second and can you unpack the phrase "start dances" for me and tell me exactly how that played out? Just out of curiosity, what exactly is a start dance in that?
A start dance is when you make your first ever placement. You get to on a Friday get to go out in front of your entire office and do a solo.
Like dance, full stop.
Like dance, full stop. Dance music's on, everyone's cheering for you, and you're out there on your own.
You get to pick the song.
Yeah.
Do you remember what song you picked?
No clue. Blacked out. but we were like I mentioned, we were in a shoebox, so we were definitely on top of the desk dancing. So it was a time for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And was everybody still smartphones like putting you on? I don't know if Insta was that popular.
No, I can't even remember the exact year that it was, 2008 or 2009, something like that. But fortunately, it was pre live stream, pre videos getting put on social media. So
yeah, perfect.
That only exists in our memories.
Yeah, that's another good point you bring up, and I forgot to ask this before, right? Because knowing your background, I mean, starting in 2008, 2009, during the financial market crash of that time, that was getting your start. Then I'm sure the chops you learn in sales, getting your start doing that in recruitment, must have helped to set you up for success. Like knowing what to do in a hard market is pretty valuable, I figure. No,
100%. Yeah, I think people who started in a hard market or have survived a hard market are the ones who are going to be able to stick with it for a long term. The people who maybe got hired in an extremely hot market where deals are just being like handed to them as they walked in the door may struggle long term to be able to maintain their success once things get tough.
Yeah, makes total sense. Like a market, and this is no shade on anybody, but if starting in like 2022, for example, when everybody in tech in particular was just kind of like, send me as many developers as you can meet in a day, and I will give you an offer for every single one of them, kind of thing.
Yeah, talk about what a time to be in the industry. That was incredible then.
Yeah,
but you're right. It may have provided like a false level of expectation on what the job really is and what it really takes to be successful, and just the amount of consistent effort that is required. And a lot of those people maybe flamed out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like even just psychologically, emotionally, like I don't know that anybody You know, it would take a really special organization to know exactly how to manage those expectations from day one when you're super busy, to be just like, "Hey, kids, don't get too excited because you want to feel like you're great at this, and then suddenly you suck at it, and quit the job." You know what I mean? Like, how do you manage someone's like this is their new to recruitment? I mean, how do you manage their emotional roller coaster when they come in and it's like, "Here you go, here's all this money, you're the king of the world. Oh, and now by the way, you suck, and if you don't pick up the pace, we're gonna fire you." You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that is exactly what you know 2021 through 24 25 timeframe arc story arc was. It was, you know, come out of COVID, and you know you're not really sure what's going to happen, and then the market just, you know, skyrockets, and like you said, placements are being handed out like cookies, and and then it all goes away really quickly, and um, there are plenty of people who've been super successful coming out of that, but the false level of expectation, I'm sure, made it so that the development of folks maybe got a bit hindered, and in what was going to truly allow you to sustain a successful desk for your career.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then let's get to cyber coders for a sec, because interestingly, you got back into the business just before COVID, more or less, kind of like a little bit, a year or two before, and got your feet under the table at cyber coders, did well there, but then obviously lived through all of that, the shutdown, the big swing in the positive direction, the big contraction afterwards in the market. I mean, and you managed to get promoted consistently where a lot of people floundered or had to make changes or whatever. What was that like for you, even just high level?
Sure. So I was there June of 15 through 25, so 10 years there. And, you know, when I started, it was 100%, essentially 100% in office. We had, I think, like 5 or 6 different offices around the country. And, um, and you know, a culture of being together and doing events together consistently, and you know, that was a really important part of it. And then COVID came, where we all had to go home, and um, we did a really good job pivoting with that, and found a ton of success remote, and we're able to find industries that were able to pull us back up really quickly. One of them was mortgage, which, you know, it went from like 0% of our business to a massive part of our business really quickly, when interest rates were super low. So that was something that helped get us back in gear, get people doing placements, and then, you know, everything else all came back shortly thereafter. So, um, but we found a ton of success remote, and a lot of that has to do with the support that we provided to everybody. We didn't just send them out on their own to just figure it out. The company, you know, we always, you know, thought of ourselves as like a technology business who did staffing. So there
Right.
was a lot of work on the technology side to make sure things worked for people, that there was a good experience from home, and then we made a huge shift in our support as far as L&D goes, and we created a sales enablement program, and you know, all the other departments really understood that we had to make sure that our salespeople were successful, to be able to make the company be successful. So, um, you know, there's a lot of things that we can talk about through what that looked like. But we, you know, then became just a single office over time, and had people in up to 40 different states, distributed across the country, and we hit, you know, some of the best productivity numbers that we had ever had, hit best revenue numbers that we ever had while we were fully remote. Had a ton of development and success with our leadership, and people growing and understanding how to hire and develop people remotely, and it was definitely a unique experience.
What would you say are the top maybe couple of things that come to mind for you in being able to do that successfully? that you would say in response to managers who say, you can't manage remotely. I need you in the office. It's impossible. No one can do it well.
I think that your hiring strategy has to be really sound. Um, you have to be able to find people who you can trust remotely, because there is a ton of freedom with being at your home working, um, and so that's one piece of it. Um, the managers have to understand that staring over somebody's shoulder is and watching them work is not the only way to effectively develop somebody, and that you can absolutely do it through setting goals, through trusting people, through having structured development and learning opportunities, through you know any number of remote training opportunities that you can provide, and ultimately it can create an opportunity where you can get talent that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. And if you get that talent in, that that can help elevate the level of people within your teams, and then they can build upon each other, and they can find success that you maybe would have never found otherwise.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because part of the title of this episode too is the structure of an agency, and I mean part of that is going from being regional and doing a lot of face to face, like we were saying, which you saw at the very beginning, to being in
Mm-hmm.
the post COVID model where a lot of people had to go remote for a little while. Some stayed in a more remote, like strategic team that wasn't regional. Other people are returning back to regional right now. How do you feel like the structure, especially being an advisory as you are right now? How do you feel the structure has changed and evolved? Are there like things that you think have been positive, things that are pitfalls in how to put an agency together to make it work in today's kind of market?
Sure. So I 100% believe that you can set up a market or an agency to be fully remote. There's no reason that you can't be successful that way, first of all. Um, I absolutely understand the value of in person and how that can help fast track things and develop relationships in a more meaningful way. But there are ways that you can absolutely do that remotely. Um, I'd say that the um, the structures that I'm seeing with companies that I'm talking to right now is they're still battling whether it's going to be either hybrid or remote. Um, but the ones where you're really getting experienced people to come in and um, and bring their expertise to your business is where you are giving them that remote option. If 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 I'm $1 million a year biller and I'm proving that here at my office at my house, why do I need to go drive 20 minutes to go sit somewhere else and do the exact same thing? So I think that when it's a smaller business, 100% remote, absolutely no problem. If you were one of those mega businesses, like I can understand why at scale you may want to have people in person a little bit more often.
Did you guys flirt at all with the offshore resources in delivery at all, or no? It's like recruiters.
No.
What do you think about that trend? Like some people are obviously going to AI to automate things. I think that there's a lot of discussion and perhaps call it argument about what should be automated and what human beings should do. But I think everybody's trying to figure out how to do this leaner and more cost efficiently. And there have been a few rounds of that per year for the past 3 straight years, in not just in staffing and recruiting. I mean, in most industries in North America. And there is definitely a lot of discussion in there about like offshoring part of, or like sourcing or delivery versus keeping it onshore. I mean, it's not that it's one is there's no right wrong here at all for sure, but how is that something you're seeing as still being a hot topic of conversation in the people you advise, for example, or how does that sit with you?
Yeah, I think that offshoring, nearshoring, and the utilization of AI are like three consistent conversations. I think that at least from the companies that I've talked to, the they are starting to prefer nearshoring just for the costs are starting to even out a little bit there. I think that offshoring is becoming a little bit more expensive than it had been in the past, and nearshoring's similar time zone, and um, and the product is excellent.
Yeah.
And obviously not everyone, but many of them are excellent. So I think that that's becoming more and more popular. And how AI is used is interesting. I think that a lot of people are just throwing it at every possible problem and seeing what sticks, and seeing what the ROI is. And a lot of times it's not necessarily the investment isn't worth the effort today. And they've got to really figure out what tools are truly going to be transformative for the business.
Yeah, totally. What? So we're here. We're in AI. We're talking about AI. We might as well, might as well. We had
It
always.
has to be a topic on everything, right?
It has to be something a topic for every episode. But how can it not be?
Sure.
What about you personally? Like, what do you feel? Where do you feel the line should be? Like, what is what are things that you think? Hey, this is something a person should do. It's part of their job description. I need humans to continue to do this. And how does that change what you think people would hire or what your clients hire for? Does it change? Like, in other words, I see a lot beforehand, especially in difficult markets, a lot of people are very hung up on years of experience. What was that experience? What were your successes? What were your numbers? And I'm not saying those things are ever going to be overlooked. They're always important, right? But I also see some people looking a lot more for, like, what are this person's human traits, creativity, resilience, curiosity, coming up a little bit in popularity, not as much as I would have predicted personally. But, like, what are you seeing out there? Is there a difference in what people want to hire in a market where AI can do a lot of the grunt work for you?
Yeah, I think that your presence, your creativity, I think you're on it. I think that those are the areas that are going to differentiate people going forward. And your adaptability, um, your ability to understand technology, and be somebody who maybe you can be the expert of something that your company is looking to invest in, and be an early adopter, and you can then ensure that the rest of the company can be brought along with you. Like, I think that you you absolutely can't ignore it. I think you have to embrace it, and um, and have that be a part of your arsenal. Your ability to um, see what a problem is in front of you, see what technology is potentially able uh, to address that problem, and make a quality decision on the best move forward for the business. And as far as replacing people or anything like that, I think yeah, it's got to be just the mundane tasks, and the interaction with people that still needs to be there. Like, um, I think that that's where, from a compliance standpoint, first of all, there's a lot of things there that everyone needs to be careful with. But then also, like we talked about, the differentiator, like a client, if all they're getting is bots, then
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to them. It's just whoever gave them the result. But if they're getting Rick and Ben, then at that point, they're gonna remember us, and then they're gonna want to talk to us.
Yeah, that's a good point. Someone brought up the point too, that in a way we're kind of detectives, right? Like, when you're recruiting and you're talking to somebody and you sense that they might not be giving you the full story, we dig deeper and we try to figure out if they're lying or not. I feel like AI is still a ways away from being able to do that. Even the AI agents that I've tested.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tested a bunch of them, but from the experience that I've had on like the candidate side when I
Yeah.
was talking to some of them, yeah, it's very surface level, and like it could give a recruiter a nice little summary, but it's not going to really tell me why I should hire this person, like what really makes them special.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like there's almost like it's a telltale sign if people think the data points they're getting from AI interviews, AI only interviews, unassisted, if they're like, this is enough for me, I'm like, I think your hiring might be broken. Because like, how are you supposed to tell if this person's going to be happy in the job, if this is a truly a step up for them aside from money wise, if they're going to fit, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how it can be enough, but maybe I'm just missing something. Maybe it's me. We'll see.
Yeah, sure, but I think that with how the market's been the last year or two, recruiters are being just inundated with resumes
Yeah.
and clients too. Like it's just so easy to apply to jobs that the amount of resumes that get in there, the amount of slop that's in there is just like it's unbelievable. And so the technology giving you a little bit of an assist to try and find the needles in the haystacks there, at least to prioritize the conversations that you have, like that's essential to be able to effectively do your job and find the right people for the jobs too.
Yeah.
And I mean, every resume looks exactly the same right now, but and so bots talking to bots is only going to get you so far, and you need like you said, a detective to get in there and really see who's legit.
Yeah, that's a good point. In on the executive advisory piece, what would you say the top challenge is that people bring to you in that regard, or a couple of challenges that that executives are facing right now that they need advisory help on?
Sure, I think that the biggest thing, like my target market is like the under 50 million type business. So typically, what that is it's a founder, and most of the time, a founder is a salesperson who went out on their own and is trying to build something out that hasn't necessarily run a business before, and they are taking on everything because that's what founders do. And it gets to a point where they don't have enough capacity to be able to do so, or it's really pulling them away from what they love to do. So if they recognize, hey, I love being in front of clients, I love the deals, I love that whole piece, and I'm sitting here dealing with technology vendors and collections and all these things, like how can I structure my business, and what few strategic hires should I make first to be able to get me to the next level. And so with cybercoders, it was a business where when I first got there, it was around $65 million in annual revenue, um, peaked during those amazing times at like 125, and then leveled off down from that afterwards. But um, understanding what that growth looks like, what's necessary for a business to get up to that, is some expertise that I'm able to bring to these people and help them, maybe not hit the bumps in the road that I did over my 10 years, and see their growth happen a little bit more smoothly and effectively when as they're building their businesses out.
That's amazing because your growth appears pretty smooth. Like in the 10 years, you ended up being the president of the company. So if it can be even smoother than that, then that's pretty impressive.
Oh, I mean, there were road bumps all over the place. Um, Now we had a really, really great team, and we were able to effectively handle many of them, not all of them, but handle a lot of them, and figure out ways to continue to build the business. But um, no, nothing was smooth. There, and I think it's that way with any business. Like there's always going to be problems, and you got to have the right people there to help address them.
For sure. This is what we do, right? We solve problems for our clients internally. That's what we do every day, kind of, right? It's road bumps keep us employed. Life is too smooth, no one pays anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap it for today, I'm going to throw you a couple. This is something I've been doing lately. Is playing a little over under at the end of these episodes.
Ooh, okay.
Are you familiar with over under?
I am. Yes.
Cool. So then, just let me know if you think these next things are overrated or underrated.
Okay.
Let's start with resumes. Over under right now.
Overrated. I was playing the game the opposite way.
Yeah.
Resumes are overrated.
And I imagine you mean because everybody is using ChatGPT and they all are exactly the same, and so they're not really telling you anything anymore.
Yeah, and I think that if you get a person on a call, you're going to really the interview is what's going to tell you if it's the right person for you or not.
Fair. Everybody's saying that they're moving from staffing to consulting. Overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you? I have my opinions. Why do you think it's overrated?
I think that people just staffing is an incredible industry, and there's a massive opportunity, and it is so distributed across thousands and thousands of agencies. You don't have to go to consulting. You don't have to go do that. You can continue to build for many companies. You can continue to build in the staffing space and be generationally successful.
That's good. I like that. That's positive. That's firm. I love generationally successful. You hear that, everybody? You don't need to go to consulting. You can still be generationally successful. What about LinkedIn Recruiter? Overrated, underrated?
I feel like I have caveats to all of these.
Yeah.
I think I think everyone craps on it, so I'm gonna say underrated.
Yeah, I think they crap on it because it's expensive, and it's gone up in price, which hurts everyone's pocketbooks. But
it's incredibly expensive, and it can blow up your budget. I completely understand that. It's right now there isn't an alternative, and it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, honestly, I don't know that people are crapping on its effectiveness so much as its price.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's mostly.
But I mean, I don't have it right now. So, but last I heard, it was like $21 in mail or something like that.
What I have seen from speaking to different people is I think it depends on what you're coming from and where you're located and whatever. So the pricing is a little different depending on.
Yeah. So anybody listening, if you get an in-mail, just reply.
Accept. Yeah.
Give that person their credit back.
You know what? I love that, Ben. We're gonna put that out to all points. Please just accept the in-mail. Just accept it. It costs us so much money. Even if you're like, I don't want this job, accept the in-mail, please.
Yep, exactly.
Very good.
People helping people.
People helping people. You never know when you're going to need a hand in the future. What else is another good one? I mean, AI in general, AI tools, overrated or underrated right now?
I think underrated.
Yeah.
I think the utilization of them right now is not what to the capacity that they should be using. I think that there's a lot of beginners out there just throwing stuff at the wall with them. But I think the people who are getting it are seeing a massive amount of success for them, and it's only going to get better.
Awesome. And lastly, the Giants. Overrated, underrated?
The San Francisco Giants?
San Francisco Giants.
Underrated.
Yeah.
We God, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head right now. But had somebody who just went 5 for 5 on his first 5 at bats in the major leagues for the first time since like the 1960s. So we're on the way up.
Yeah, the Giants are on the way up. I won't talk about the Blue Jays right now. I'm not going to talk about it.
Hey, I was rooting for you in the World Series. Anyone to take the Dodgers down.
I wish we had. Thanks a lot, Ben. I really appreciate it. This has been awesome. I know we could probably have done this all day. I'd love to have you back on again in the future. And anybody who is in need of executive advisory services, Ben's LinkedIn is there. Please reach out to him.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time, Rick. And yeah, let's do it again.
Thanks a lot. And you can find Recruiting EQ if you missed this episode and you're just seeing it online, or you caught parts of it and you'd like to listen to the actual podcast. You can find these anywhere you find your podcasts. And we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thanks a lot, guys. And see you all next time.